Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, words my brethren all around the world watch this video. Hope you're having a great day as you're watching this video. Now, in the another video, AJ Wilder related, because we're gonna keep pumping these out because it's a hottest topic in boxing right now. It has nothing really to do with AJ or Joshua as much as it does Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis recently came out and he made his opinions known on the Anthony Joshua versus Wilder situation. I thought I would read his tweets to you guys and then give my opinion on his perspective. So we're going to get into it. Here's what the former Undisputed Champ had to say. He said, I quote, "My thoughts on Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder situation are that when I was a champ, I wanted to face the best to show the world who was the best. Period. I've heard them both speak on it, but I've also seen AJ has changed his tune. This isn't a 2-year down the line thing. Promoters have their own interest in making the most money they can, but fighters also carry weight in who they fight. If both sides wanted this fight, it would be happening. End of story. AJ's talking Povetkin fight first isn't a deal breaker for Wilder though. I just don't like the 2-year talk. I'm not in on all the details of Joshua Wilder negotiations, but when I wanted to fight Mike Tyson before retiring, the only thing keeping that fight away was the networks. I told my team at HBO to make it happen. End of story. I don't want to hear about anything else. The way I see it, AJ is the man. He gets to choose a time and place for the first fight. I think Wilder come to me also. But from what I see from Wilder, he's willing to. And this is the same attitude I would have. When the heavyweight division finally has some pulse, we need action, not talks." Then he goes on later on by saying, AJ versus Wilder is the biggest fight in the heavyweight division. They'll both make more than each ever has because they both bring a level of interest to the match. It's what fans want to see, and negotiations should reflect that. I would say a 60-40 split in AJ's favor at Wembley Stadium for the first fight. Then he says, and then he talks about negotiations, and he says, I quote, "I'm very familiar with the process that gets in the way of big fights, and negotiations are just that. Each side fights for what they want. It's a give and take. But the upside of Joshua Wilder for the fighters and the fans should make this fight a reality and for cooler heads to prevail." So that was the thoughts from Lennox Lewis. And I think what he's saying is very, very fair and balanced. Obviously, I have my opinions on Joshua Wilder. You have your opinions on Joshua Wilder. But ultimately, no matter what side of the spectrum you're on, we're all boxing fans. And we all love the sport, and we all want to see it thrive. And ultimately, I want this fight to happen. I want this fight to happen. I hope it does happen. And I think Lennox Lewis is qualified to speak on this in such a manner because, as we know, the fight with Lennox Lewis and Riddick Bowe never happened because of the purse splits. There was a lot of arguments and disagreements over the purse splits. I remember back then they were talking about, when they tried to negotiate that fight in '92, Bowe won like a 90-10 purse split or something like that. And there was a lot of bad blood from the Olympics, and then you had the whole Rock Newman factor, which personally, it is my personal belief from just seeing the situation, reading about the situation, knowing Riddick Bowe. I think Rock Newman was the reason the fight didn't happen. That's my opinion. But it never happened, and the ones that were the ultimate losers at the end of the day were the fight fans because now we're sitting here and we're always going to ask ourselves, if the fight would have happened, who would have won? And we're never really going to know. And that's the sad part. So as a fight fan, we don't want this to happen. We want to see it whenever we talk about undisputed heavyweight championship fights, we want them to happen. We want them to be big. We want them to be good for the sport and the health of the sport. And we want them to be exciting. And for Wilder, or for Bowe and Lewis, it didn't happen. But here you have a chance with Wilder and Joshua, two great heavyweights in their prime, undefeated, both exciting, both have their fan bases, both bring something to the table that the other doesn't have. And I just want to see the fight, man. I really do want to see the fight. So I'm confident. I'm really confident that, let's say what we're in right now. We're currently in July, so we got August, September, October, November, December, January, February. I think we got to go out a good 8 or 9 months before the fight actually happens. I do think it will happen in April. And the reason I think that is because before they even sign the contract, let's just say the contract gets signed in the next 6 months. 6 months of marination and talk and videos and promotion and profile building between these two fighters. I think the fight will be a lot bigger in 6 to 7 months' time. and it'll be almost asinine from either side, whether it be the Hearn side or the Shelly Finkel-Heyman side, to not make this fight happen. Cooler heads should prevail, and I think Lennox Lewis is right here. I think Lennox Lewis. What I will say about Lennox Lewis is this. What I will say is this. He's correct in the sense that promoters do have their own agenda, and that's very true because, believe you me, Eddie Hearn has his own agenda, but he does work for his fighters. What I don't agree with is that he says that AJ has changed his tune with the fight. AJ hasn't changed his tune with the fight because Wilder hasn't changed his tune with the fight. What I mean is this: like AJ said, everybody's going to go on about the $50 million offer, and that's fine. But AJ hasn't really changed his tune because there is no tune. AJ hasn't really been in the public like that since he said that, really. So I think right now what's happening is AJ's just letting Eddie do all the talking for him. He's going to do his training. He's going to be focused for Povetkin, and that's just what it is. That's what's happening right now, and that's what's happening. So I don't necessarily agree with him changing his tune. I just think there was a verbal agreement. There's been a lot of tugging and pulling from both sides. AJ is not a promoter. AJ's not a promoter, and he's got a fight coming up against Povetkin, a very, very tough and dangerous opponent, and that's what he's going to be focused on. As for the fight, man, like all I can say is I agree with Lennox Lewis. I think Lennox, just his comments overall are very fair and balanced. 60-40 split. I think it'd be yeah. I think, and this is how I'll look at it, because if I remember correctly, if I'm wrong, you guys in the comments can correct me. But I believe Joseph Parker got a 35% per split, somewhere around there. Just slightly above mandatory money. But the fact that this fight is for undisputed, I think that warrants at least an extra 5%. So 60-40 is fair, and I would actually agree with Lennox Lewis there. But that's what I'm gonna. I guess that's what I'll say, man. Because I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of fear that I have in the back of my mind that this fight won't happen, and it will be just like another Riddick Bowe, Lennox Lewis situation, which I think is one of the biggest tragedies in boxing history. Because those two guys were two of the greatest heavyweights of their era. Truth be told, I think there's always a piece of the legacy that will always be missing because they never fought each other. They needed each other. That would have been one of the biggest heavyweight fights in history, and it just didn't happen. So, as boxing fans, we shouldn't want to see that again. We should want the sport to do what's right, do right by the fighters, do right by the division, and do right ultimately by the fans, because we're the ones who are the paying customers. We're the ones that keep the sport going, and we're going to keep it going because we love the sport. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about Lennox Lewis's comments regarding Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. Agree, disagree? Let me know in the comments down below. Take the time to subscribe, like I say in every single video. You can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just kidding. Dang it. So until next time, take care, guys.